Former President Barack Obama issuing, well, frankly, a blunt message to Democrats. Toughen up at a private fundraiser in New Jersey. The former president issuing a call to action, telling Democrats frustrated with leadership under President Trump to stand up, saying what's required is, quote, a little bit less navel gazing and a little less whining and being in fetal positions. What's needed now is courage. Obama going on to chide voters, saying, quote, stop looking for the Messiah. You have great candidates running races right now. Support those candidates. But warning those candidates, they need to deliver for people. Saying, you want to deliver for people and make their lives better? You got to figure out how to do it. With me now, the two-time Democratic nominee for governor of Georgia, Stacey Abrams. She's the author of the new novel, Coded Justice, available in stores tomorrow. Now, Stacey, I want to get to your latest fabulous novel in just a moment. But first, what is your response to former President Barack Obama's quite blunt message to Democrats, talking about getting out of the fetal position? Is that how you would describe the state of the Democratic Party right now?
I think people are trying to grapple with the unraveling of what we have assumed for a very long time was a nation impervious to the type of autocracy and authoritarian regime that we see unfolding in front of us. But I think the response is in line with President Obama, which is that we've got to take action. We can't simply react. We have to lead. And that means not just those who are elected officials or those who are party officials. It's anyone who shares our values, anyone who believes in fairness and opportunity, who believes in dignity and in justice. We are the ones who have to take leadership and ownership of this moment. We've got to show that democracy can deliver, but that doesn't just mean those who are in elected office. It means anyone who sees a neighbor in need. We lead with our values, so we show up and we help. And yes, that's our job in this moment. What they want us to do with their attempt to freeze our sense of capacity, they want us to just curl into the fetal position. But what we've got to remember is that before we had money, before we had power, we had each other. And the way we get back to power, the way we save our nation from those who want to tear it apart is that we stop waiting for someone to come and help us and we do it ourselves.
The idea of stop waiting for the Messiah is one of the things that Obama had to say. And then you've got people who are not elected, as you point out, but not everyone's neighbor is Mark Cuban, although he is criticizing the party's officials, and he gave a new interview. And I want to read for you a little bit what he said. He said to you that the Trump sucks message is not the way to win. Talk to me a little bit about the messaging that Democrats should put forth. Is it the help thy neighbor, or is it something more substantial?
It's a combination. I have a podcast, Assembly Required, and on my podcast, I refuse to simply attribute everything that's going wrong to the current president, because this is a joint decision by a complicit Congress and by a conservative judiciary that is handing power over. I recently spoke about the 10 steps to autocracy. This isn't just about whether or not they shut down the Department of Education or they raid the city of LA. This is about whether they believe in the fundamental values of democracy, and they don't. And if they do not believe in those values, we've got to live those values even harder. Our responsibility is to understand what their intention is, to expand executive power, to constrain any competition, to put loyalists in charge, and to basically ensure that we never again have free and fair elections where we get to choose our leaders. And if we know what's coming, then the way we solve it is by helping each other, by making sure that we understand what's going on, but that we don't become so afraid and broken and numb to the behaviors that we forget that this is our country too, and we are in this together. Patriotism isn't partisanship.
About this, though, I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of criticism towards Democrats. I know Democrats are not the majority party in Congress, but there's been a lot of criticism about the reactive nature of their approach, number one, and also a almost too relaxed nature and waiting for people to essentially just see it all happen and then somehow respond at the polls. Do you think that Democrats who are currently in office are doing enough to counter what is happening from top down?
I think what we're watching is a reactive response to a completely unexpected reality. No one expected the United States to fall under autocracy so quickly. And that does tend to lead to a stunted response. But
But Trump, one thing though, but Trump was quite clear as to what he was going to do, and he's almost followed almost to the letter of the plan. So people can't possibly be fully blindsided. Why is it taking as long to react?
Because we believed in the norms that have upheld this nation for so long. But let's be clear, liars lie. And he is full of bombast and always has been, but I think that's the point. This isn't about Trump. This is about a Republican Party that is suborning behavior. And as long as our attention is focused on Trump, and I think this is what Mark Cuban was referring to, as long as our attention is only focused on one person, one avatar, one puppet, we are missing the larger narrative, which is that they are trying to fundamentally remake this nation. When Tom Homan says that he is willing to use racial profiling to take away the rights of people to due process, we should believe them. But that's not Donald Trump. That is one facet of Project 2025 and our responsibility. And this is the place where I'm going to say it's not just about Democrats. It's about Americans. This isn't about partisanship. This is about patriotism. If we believe in our nation, we can disagree about who gets to hold office, but we should not disagree about the fundamental rights accorded to every person in this country. The right of due process, the right to not have to worry about being separated from your family or stuck in a cage or kidnapped off the streets. Those are fundamental truths that we have held sacred for so long, and we cannot allow one party in one moment to fracture that.
Let's talk about what's happening in one particular city who is looking at their races. And I'm talking about the Democratic nominee for New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani. He ran a campaign almost solely focused on affordability. He's not being fully embraced by the Democratic establishment. He is a self-described Democratic socialist. Do you think that contributes to why some Democrats are reluctant to support him?
Voters are less concerned about labels, they're concerned about values. And my focus is on what values is he bringing to the table. He is bringing the value that we have to listen versus lecture. He's bringing the value that affordability matters, that you cannot ask someone to worry about the $10 word autocracy when they can't afford the 4-letter word rent. And so when we start delivering, when we start showing at every level of government that Democrats believe in doing the work, then we are going to continue to win. And let's remember, this was not a landslide election in 2024. It was a 2 million person vote with 90 million people not showing up. Our job is to find out why 90 million people didn't think their voices mattered. And it's to tell them, here's what's happening. That's why I talk about the 10 steps to autocracy. Let's know what's at stake, but let's also know what we can do to serve the people, to serve our needs, and to save our nation. Those are things we can do because we've done it before, and we can do it again.
President Obama was at a private fundraiser, and he had some tough love for Democrats. He said he wants them to toughen up. And in these comments obtained by CNN, Obama said at a private fundraiser, quote, "I think it's going to require a little bit less navel-gazing and a little less whining and being in fetal positions for Democrats to do better."
Well, I mean, I think that he is right that there has been, let's say, a disorientation on the part of Democrats ever since the November elections, which I think the breadth of Trump's victory, plus the Republicans taking the House and the Senate, was a shocking event for Democrats. And it's taken some time for them to come to grips and come to understand that. But this is exactly what a political leader like Obama would be saying to the troops, which is, okay, we've had that moment. Now it's time to regroup.
But the other part of what he talked about was the importance of standing up for our values. And particularly in moments like this, when it's hard, that is the moment to do it. And that is also a message that I think our party needs to hear, because if you look at what's happened in special elections, in some of these state-led races, Democrats are winning. And these are people who are running on progressive ideas. And so their Democratic voters are also turning out. So if you look at what's happening in the states and locally, Democrats are doing quite well. What our national party needs to do is kind of a version of what we were just talking about. Pay attention to what is the facts on the ground, to the affordability crisis, to the issues that people are talking about, and go where they are to do it. Because one of the problems Democrats have is we don't run a permanent campaign. We kind of, our spending increases 6 months out, 9 months out, and then it drops back off.
Yeah, he said, quote, "Stop looking for a quick fix. Stop looking for the Messiah. You have great candidates running races right now. Support those candidates." I mean, you don't hear as much about them, though, as you do a Zohran Mamdani or something.
Well, I think there's an interesting parallel here to what happened in the first Trump term, where, of course, in 2018, Democrats had an excellent year, especially in the House races, picked up more than 40 seats. All of the attention came to the most left-wing Democrats who won those races, and that, I think, really distorted the Democrats' understanding of themselves going into the 2020 race.
Yeah, we'll see if they take his advice, Ramesh. Karen, great to have you both here.